Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, your 7-foot host from Villanova University, and my partner, as always, my point guard, my buddy, my pal, the great Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
Doing great, Chuck. We got a good one tonight.
Yeah, another member of the media. We've let everybody into this thing that we do, the Big East, and we've seen it from every single angle, and the media guys never disappoint. No pressure on our guest today, but never disappoint us when we have a media guy on. So, without any further ado, Sonny, I'm going to get this party started, okay? How's that?
Yeah.
Our guest today was a two-time all Nassau County basketball player from Rockville Center, Long Island.
Oh, no,
A
here
man
we go.
after my own heart. I got to throw the Long Island in this, Sonny. Come on.
Love it.
I
Love
heard
it.
that and I said, oh, he's my guy. Not only that, but we got other things in common too. We'll get to that in a second, okay?
The only thing missing is you didn't play the post.
He played. That's it. I know. Well, you can't have everything, Sonny. We'll take what we can get at this point, son. So Annie played at Ithaca, and he was a 5-time New York State Broadcasting Award winner for Outstanding Sportscast from ESPN. The great Kevin Connors. How are you, Kev? How you doing?
What an introduction, Chuck. I appreciate that. It's great to be with you and Sonny. And I want to point out, while we're listing accolades, Sonny, you'll appreciate this. 2-time Jim Boeheim Big Orange basketball camp MVP.
Oh, wow. That's big time.
That's
Twice.
great.
How did he let you go to Ithaca? How'd you
I was
slip
gonna
through
say,
your hands?
Right. All of that
West?
led to 0 Division I offers, I want to point out. Yes.
How did he slip through his fingers?
Was that camp at the Dome, Kev, or was that played at Manly? The camp.
It was in the Dome. I mean this sincerely, and we can go here if you want to. It was the highlight of my year every year. Getting to go to Big Orange basketball camp, staying in Flint Hall and Day Hall on the campus
wow.
of Syracuse.
Wow.
And getting to have, whether it was a 5-minute conversation with Bernie Fine, who ran the camp, or Jim Boeheim, it was the highlight of my year.
Bernie was the best. Everybody that played there, he was their guy. So
I just saw Bernie, Kev. I just saw.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
He's great.
So many happy years there. Yeah.
So we occasionally, when we do our due diligence here, Kevin, I know you're used to the big time. You're ESPN. We're not the big time, but we are. What are we, Sonny?
Professional journalists.
That's right.
All
So we
right.
do our due diligence here. So I have a fun fact about Kevin Connors. Okay, true or false? You are a big Foo Fighter fan.
I would say the biggest.
No, you wouldn't, because I would be the biggest.
Oh, yes.
So there you go.
I should have prepared some trivia for this.
I love
Right
it,
or wrong,
Chuck.
Sonny? Come
Hey,
on.
Chuck, I just saw, so I'm getting ready to do Sports Center 3 weeks ago. Someone reaches out to me and they say, Foo Fighters are playing a pop-up concert at Toad's Place in
Toad's
New
Place.
Haven.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. That venue that venue packs 900. I'm
If
like,
that.
I've got to go. I threw a Hail Mary, emailed a PR person who I sort of knew. He writes me back, I've got 1 ticket if you're willing to go solo. I called my wife. I said, honey, I've got good news and bad news.
I love you, but
Well, you were there. So
Right.
you were at Toad's Place.
I was at Toad's Place. It was about the 12th or 13th time that I've seen them. And as you know, Chuck, they're unbelievable.
They're unbelievable. I saw the first show after Hawkins passed away. It was in New Hampshire.
I was
So
there.
I drove all the way up to New Hampshire to see Josh Freese's first show.
I was there. I went to that show as well.
Yep, that was great. It was emotional, but it was great. How did they sound at Toads in that type of venue?
Great. Dave, it seems to me he starts shows and you're like, they played 2 nights ago. Is his voice going to make it? And but I sort of feel like it takes him a couple of songs to activate the calluses on his vocal cords to really
Yeah,
give you the great
exactly.
growls. He was great. They were great. The new drummer does a really good job.
He sounds more like, I mean, I like Josh Freese a lot. And when they had the tribute shows, I said I hope they get that guy.
Right.
And they did, but the double pedal and everything has made it sound a little bit different. This guy pounds the hell out of the kit. I mean, what I saw on the clips through social media, he pounds the hell out of it, right?
He does. Again, Dave, and here's the best part. They opened that show, Chuck, with enough space,
Yeah.
which is from The Color and the Shape, which is my favorite album, probably their best album. And that's a deep cut that they never play. They play Best of You and Times Like These and all the
Sure.
hits, of course. But as a huge fan like we are, you hope they go deeper sometimes because the catalog has it, and they've opened it up a little bit. So it was a great show.
It was neat how they did that. They went to 4 or 5 places, and now they're coming out with these EP of the
Yep.
live music, and
Yep.
some of the deep cuts like you're talking about, the stuff that they haven't played in years, So it's been really cool. And I just love the vibe at the concerts that they've played that I've been to, and I've seen them 10 or 11 times myself. And it right after they were on the VMAs, I think, a couple of years ago, and then they played a show in Brooklyn, in Coney Island, which I didn't even know there was an amphitheater there.
Wow.
And we wound up getting tickets that day, and I'm sitting next to the sound guy, and I'm like, it was unbelievable. In fact, Dave kept saying it was the best hangover he's ever had in his life because they were all hungover from the VMAs. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
it's been a lot of fun. Those guys are really great, and I hope they come back around again real soon. So. How do you go from playing basketball at Rockville Center, Long Island, to ESPN? Well, first of all, take us through
Hmm.
how do you get to Ithaca first from there? Were you I don't know if you're on Facebook, but they have this new thing called Long Island Basketball History. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah.
that with Tristan
Oh yeah.
Smith?
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
Very.
They've given a lot of guys their flowers, and it's very thought provoking, and you start to think about the guys that you played with and against, and the guys that are here and the guys that are not here anymore. So it's kind of a cool thing. Tristan did a really great job with that. So talk about playing at Ithaca, how you went there, and what was the thought process to go to Ithaca?
Yeah. So the long story short was I was a pretty good high school player. For my level, I played against Zendon Hamilton in high school. He
Okay,
was the best player I ever played against.
where was he? Sewanee, right?
Sewanee, yeah.
Yep.
Derek Brown, who played at Cary, who also went to St. John's. Fred Lyson, Oceanside. So, they were on a different level. But for the level that I was a pretty good high school player. And I knew I wanted to play in college. And quite frankly, I wouldn't have been able to go to a school like Ithaca if not for basketball. So I initially kind of recruited Ithaca and said, I think I know I want to study broadcasting, and I know I
Yep.
want to keep playing basketball, and I know I can't follow in the footsteps of someone like Sonny Spera. I'm not good enough to play at Syracuse, but can I do this somewhere else? And I recruited Ithaca, and then they recruited me, and I got to go to school, take a visit there at the school, and I said, how do we make this happen? And so I was very, very fortunate that it worked out. And my experience at Ithaca with basketball was nowhere near as good as it was when I was at Southside High School. I wasn't good enough to play my freshman year. I think I was good enough to play the rest of my time there. And it didn't quite go the way that I wanted to. But as I've said many times before, it was a great primer for what life is. Life is not always easy. And sometimes you have to endure and stick things out and develop a tough skin. And that's kind of what happened there at Ithaca.
Yep. I mean, and the program there, for what you went involved with communications and stuff it's pretty good. It's right up there with, some of the bigger schools that are in that area, right?
What league was Ithaca in? Because it now is in the Liberty League. They moved into the Liberty League.
It was in the Empire
Empire.
League when I was there.
Mhm.
Now the Liberty League. we played the neighboring Division III schools up there.
Yep.
Obviously, the rivalry with Cortland and all that. Listen. It was a great opportunity to continue my playing career. I loved basketball, obviously still do, but loved playing the game. And so again, I never led the team in minutes played, but I certainly loved
Neither
the
did Sonny or I,
experience.
Kev. It's okay. You're okay.
You're in good company. Don't
Sonny
worry.
or I, for sure.
But it was great. And you know what? And frankly, the big plus was the communication school where I got to study and do TV and radio extracurricular alongside several people who are professionals today at very high levels, and it taught me how to be competitive. It taught me how to not just be good enough, to prepare and to understand what being great requires. So in every aspect, it was a great place.
Did you call any games up there in Ithaca?
I was the voice of Ithaca football for my junior and senior year, which was kind of what you aspired to get to. And I hosted the Gridiron Report, which was the football coach's show. So I did, of course, I didn't get to call any basketball, but I got to do football, which for us was the big sport there.
Oh, yeah. Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's competitive. You mentioned Cortland and Buff. My son went to Buff State. I think they played against Ithaca too in that
Yep.
conference up there. So
For sure.
So okay, so how do you go now? Take us on your journey when you left Ithaca through, where you ended up at ESPN. How did you take us on that journey, if you would?
It's a long and winding road, Chuck.
For everybody, right?
For everybody. There's no blueprint. I talk with people all the time who want to get into broadcasting, and there is no such thing as a traditional path. I went to school with a guy who's one of my best friends to this day, and his family owned an independent cable TV station in the Hudson Valley of New York.
Oh,
And
Waynesboro.
Yeah, right. We were classmates in the Park School of Communications. He said, "Hey, my family owns a TV station, and I think you'd be great at it." So I got a job 3 days before I graduated Ithaca. I knew I'd be starting at this regional news network, and the sports director was Brian Kenny, who would go on to ESPN, and now he's at MLB Network, and he's a fantastic broadcaster. And so I started at RNN TV on May 21st, 1997. And again, about a year later, Brian left to go to ESPN, and I went up and replaced him as the sports director there. So at 23, I'm the sports director at this independent cable news station, and I'm doing everything. I'm my own cameraman, my own producer, host the sports within the news. I hosted a weekly talk show. Got to ultimately do news hosting, hosted a political news show where I interviewed, among others, a guy who was the senator from Delaware at the time, who would go on to become the president of the United States, Joe Biden. So I got to experience everything at this place before my big, and I'm sending out VHS tape after VHS tape and getting rejection after rejection and not being able to get arrested in terms of looking for a new job. Until one day, someone told me that Kevin Burkhardt was leaving WCBS Radio in New York to go to SNY to be the in-game reporter for the Mets. Sent in an audition tape to WCBS Radio, got the gig there about 3 months after doing updates at WCBS Radio. The news director at WCBS TV emailed me and said, "Would you be interested in doing weekend mornings for us here at Channel 2? I mean, would I be interested? I just got done sending out hundreds of VHS tapes. So I started doing Saturday and Sunday mornings. That turned into Saturday night. Can you do the 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. newscasts as well? So I was doing 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Saturday morning, 6 p, 11 p Saturday night, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sunday morning, and radio during the week, but it was a dream come true. And that was really the point where my career took off. And not too long after that, I ended up at ESPN, and 18 years later, here we are.
Wow, the rest is history.
That's the Jay Billis advice, right? Never turn down a broadcasting opportunity.
Sonny, you said it, and I live by that to this day. Where ESPN is hyper competitive, and I try as often as I can to say yes to as much as I can, because number one, I love doing what we have. Whether it's Major League Baseball or college football or obviously college basketball or NBA. I've called boxing matches here. There's no bad opportunity. And so to me, I've said yes to as much as I humanly can, sometimes to the chagrin of my wife and kids, but it's a passion, and it's for 18 years been an unbelievable opportunity.
When you get an opportunity to do something like boxing, something that you might not be so familiar with, what's the process to go through? I guess you have to jump head first into the pool, right? Is that, to if you're a basketball guy or a college football guy, all of a sudden they say, hey, you know what? We want you to do pickleball or something, Yeah, I mean, how do you start? I mean,
Well, I'm a huge boxing fan. So in the case of boxing, I'm a big boxing fan. But, the fight that I called, I was not an expert on the two guys who fought. It was a championship fight. It was John Pascal and someone I can't even remember now. So it was a championship fight. But so what do, Chuck? I mean, look, I've had opportunities to call WNBA games or college baseball. We need you to fill in on a college baseball studio. I've done the Golden Spikes show for college baseball, and it's what an honor. But I'm not following college baseball. So what do? You clear out a window of time and you say, I got to dig in, and I better know what I'm talking about, because there is an audience who's going to very quickly figure out that this guy does or doesn't know what he's talking about. And you owe it to them to do that. That's how I view it. Others may not, but that's how I view it. So you immerse yourself and you bone up on as much as you can, and you lean on the experts who you sit next to. And but to me, taking any assignment very, very seriously is crucial, because there's always someone who's watching who it means a lot to.
yeah, that's with anything, right? You're going to have people that, that's their sport, that's their thing, and they expect you to be the expert, that more than them type of thing, right? So before we get into the Big East and college hoops, I got to ask you this, because I came across this too. How did you get selected to do the EA College Football 25? I mean, you're on there with Desmond Howard, I think, Kirk Herbstreit, a bunch of guys. What was that like to do the voiceover on those games? Because that's huge now with gaming, and they have professional gamers now. I can't even believe that I'm saying that, but at our age, I mean, I'm looking at that going, how is that even possible? But it's a very, very serious thing, right? So what's the process for that? What's that like?
I had an opportunity to audition to do the halftime of an NBA game that EA was going to be making. And I went down to Orlando, Florida, and did the no. The audition was to be the voice of that NBA game, and I didn't get that gig. But they called me back a few months after and said, how would you like to do halftime and in-game updates within the game? I'd love to. So I was flying down to Orlando on a monthly basis, basically did all the recordings for the halftime and in-game updates of this NBA game, and the game never came out for whatever reason. I still to this day don't know why. So, but I'm under contract. They've got an opportunity to do some stuff in the Madden game, which of course you jump at. And so I played a couple of small roles in the Madden game. And then it sort of came out, hey, would you have any interest? There's the talk that maybe this college football game, and if I played any video games in my young adulthood, it was the college football game. So I said, I've got both hands raised for that, knowing that number one, it was going to be a big deal, but number
Yeah.
two, it was a game that I loved. So that happens. During COVID, they had already sent me equipment to do it in my basement, so now I don't have to go down to Orlando anymore, which I didn't mind doing that, but now I can go downstairs to my basement and record the things. It's a dream come true. Chuck, I've introduced my 6-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter to the game, and I'm sitting there playing the game, and now let's go to halftime and check in with Kevin Connors. And I mean, to give you an idea of just how proud I have been, to have my kids sitting next to me and they hear daddy's voice on the video game. It's been an unbelievable partnership, and an incredible blessing and a privilege to be a part of a game that so many people have really enjoyed.
That's cool.
How did you, what was your attraction to Syracuse? I mean, I know Ithaca and Syracuse are close. And how did, other than obviously going to camp, because once you go to camp and you're on campus, you feel like you're part of the culture, So,
Sonny, I tell people all the time, there's a million Syracuse alums that work here at ESPN, and I tell them all the time,
yep.
You may have gone to school there, but you're not a lifelong fan. I have been a lifelong Syracuse fan. My dad was from Central New York. He was from a town just outside of Utica called Ilion, and we spent countless summers up in Ilion, New York. And I was a Syracuse fan from the time that I'm old enough to remember. I've got pictures of me wearing an all orange sweatsuit to school, Syracuse down the leg, my navy blue Syracuse starter jacket, fashion choices that might have been questionable for a 6th, 7th grader. But I'm a diehard, and I have been a diehard my whole life. So from the time that I had a Nerf basketball hoop in my room and had Street and Smith or Blue Ribbon college basketball preview
Blue ribbon
books, and I would, in my room, write out the starting lineups of Villanova and Syracuse, or Georgetown and Seton Hall, and play games and broadcast games as I'm playing on my Nerf hoop. It couldn't be more up my alley. So to be able to be on with you guys is a thrill for me, because that is the sweet spot of my youth.
Who was the first team that you really kind of hooked onto at Syracuse? Who were like some of the first guys?
It certainly would have been Pearl. Trying to think of my real. I've got a not that I watched the game, but a memory of the Pearl half court shot.
Okay.
Certainly remember Pearl turning pro and thinking, oh no, what are we going to do at point guard? And lo and behold, Sherman Douglas takes over, and we come within a whisker of a national championship the next season. So I have a very strong memory of Raphael Addison, Wendell Alexis, Pearl Washington.
Those are all my guys. Those are like
really,
all my guys.
All your guys. But really, really the strongest identifications come with that 86-87 team. Yeah.
Yeah. So that means then it continues with Derek Coleman, right? Billy Owens. And then talk a little bit about, I hate to even bring it up, but I mean, we lost a good one. We lost Lawrence Moten.
Man.
And his impact on the Big East in general, people forget he was the leading scorer for the longest time. And you didn't even notice it. Game was over 19, 23, 24 points. Just as smooth and as unnoticeable as you can possibly be. What are some of your memories of him?
I went to a keg party of some kind at Syracuse with a buddy my sophomore year,
They tie it into a keg party story.
And there's Lawrence Moten. You know, that's how I mean, for me, anything Syracuse basketball. So again, as I talked about at the beginning, Bernie Fine, Coach Boeheim.
Yeah.
God forbid a player be there. We're in the presence of greatness. So my goodness, a player like Lawrence Moten, when I'm in college playing basketball, to be in his presence was, it was a celebrity. And what a player. I mean, like you said, Sonny, I mean, it was before you noticed it, he had 28, and he, to be the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Big East with the monsters that played in that league over the years spoke to just how incredible he was. And that's been a very difficult month for Syracuse.
Well, he's a skinny kid. He's 6'6". He's not even a forward, but he's a shooting guard. Is he a shooting guard? Is he a forward? He's kind of in between positions. That baseline, and he wasn't, let's say, a phenomenal shooter, but he was a very good shooter. Like, he just had a way of scoring. He reminded me of a couple guys that I played with that just you didn't realize it. But I tell you one thing, and Adrian Autry talked about this. You can play pickup. You're on Moten's team because that team wins.
That team wins, yeah. Did you see Coach Boeheim's speech at the funeral or at the?
I did not. Did you see it?
Oh,
I did not.
Unbelievable. He got up. He said he felt like he should yell at Lawrence because he's never yelled at him before.
Right.
Wow.
So
I believe that.
And then he went about making buckets where he didn't start. He goes and then we put him in. He ran off 12 points and he's started ever since. And he was pretty funny. I have to say I haven't seen that side of him.
He is a funny
since
guy.
I've been around him. When I visited you on campus that day.
Did he tell the story about the end of the game where he had the whole team in and they went out there? He says, Lawrence, I don't care what you got to do. Get a bucket. Just get a bucket.
Yeah, he told that story. Yeah, that was part of it. I mean, he was really good. He mentioned guys that he had to yell at. He goes, the only other guy that I never yelled at was a guy named Buddy, and everybody cracked up laughing. And he goes, and that's only because I wanted to go home at night. Lawrence, I didn't have any affiliation with him other than I was his coach. So he was the only guy I didn't yell at. I don't remember him yelling at Pearl, though, I have to say.
I don't remember Pearl ever catching anything. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
He took off half the practices, Sonny.
Yeah, I know. He was sitting down there with the knee bag, the ice bag on his knee. It's like, I'll shoot some free throws, coach. All right. That's good, Pierre. That's good, Pearl.
So what were some of the memorable games, Kev, that you remember growing up and throughout your
Big East contest, man.
Big East. I mean, listen, the rivalries were unbelievable. I mean, especially at Syracuse. I mean, I'm sorry, Syracuse, Len Berman, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Len Berman corrected me on how to say Syracuse, and he's been living in my head rent-free.
Yes, lives in his
head.
One
of your guys. I know he's one of your guys.
And by the way, and one of my broadcasting idols, and I've told him
that's what I mean. I knew exactly that. I mean, he was. Listen, I told this story before. He was in my living room every night at 5:00, live at 5. Next thing I know, he's on the show. I say Syracuse, and you thought, I got tag team between Sonny and him, the two Syracuse guys.
He stopped the show, and he goes, "Hold on a second, Chuck." Just like that.
He goes,
we
these
were 5 minutes into the
Sonny
show.
goes, yeah, you see what I'm working with? Ready to throw me under the bus, partner.
Unbelievable. By the way, Chuck, so growing up, this is a real quick aside. I've told people this story. Growing up, we watched Channel 4, NBC on the news. The news is the desk is Jack Cafferty, Chuck Scarborough, Al Roker on the weather, and Marv Albert doing sports. This is local news in New York. My God, icons. And then Len Berman takes over. And so anyway, that's an aside. What games do I remember? I mean, how much time do we have?
How about just stick to the Garden? How about just games in the Garden, the tournament?
I was at the game in. This would have been it had to be the 87-88 season after we lose the national championship, where we ran in the preseason NIT. we kicked the crap out of. I'm almost sure it's Missouri and then Indiana, or maybe vice versa. Maybe it was the Indiana, whatever it was a rematch. And that's the game where Sherman snaps the ball through his legs the length of the court to Stevie Thompson. And he catches it and he throws down the dunk. I have so many happy memories of sneaking out of school to take the Long Island Railroad in to watch the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden, and then making the excuse to get press credentials to cover the Big East tournament at the Garden. You name it, I was into it or at the Garden for it. I can to this day tell you names and numbers, and in some instances, in almost every instance with Syracuse hometowns. I lived it. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of Big East basketball.
Yeah, and especially that weekend, that week, when you had the game with the 6 overtimes. That was incredible. I mean, we had Coach Calhoun on. He wasn't too thrilled.
Yeah, he's still pissed about
it. He kind of, yeah, he was still pissed, and rightly so. I mean, that's game that, but that turned their season around. I mean, UConn at that time. I mean, that flipped their whole switch, and next thing you know, they went on a run, and that was that, right? I mean, there's nothing like being at the Garden on that final weekend, on the final four, especially the day where the 4 teams are playing, the last 4 teams are playing. And,
and Chuck,
usually Syracuse was one of them when they were there.
So many times. And the other magical thing about that is naturally the proximity of schools and fan bases. Like, who had the best fan base at the Garden back? You could make an argument for UConn, Syracuse, St. John's, Villanova. Pitt brought it. There was so many. It was just such a special time. And then, of course, all the legendary players and coaches. But for me, what stood out was just how many different fan bases came and brought it for that week in that arena of all places. It was, football is great, but football cost the Big East, that magical basketball conference.
Now when that was going on, where were you, and how involved were you in discussions about what was going on? Right? Like who everybody had to come up and say, "Hey, Kevin, what's going on with this?" And I know you like Syracuse, and blah blah blah, and how can they let this go? I mean, what were the conversations like surrounding that time?
You hated it as a fan. I mean, you hated to know that you're about to leave all of this great history to go compete against programs which are great in their own right, but there are no rivalries. Who's to this day, who's Syracuse's biggest ACC rival? Is it Duke? Because Duke is great. You lose all.
Or is it Duke because Boeheim and Krzyzewski's are friends? You know what I mean? Like, but it's not really a true rivalry.
And
not like Duke, North Carolina, that's for sure.
It's not like Syracuse, Georgetown. It's not like Syracuse, UConn. It's not like Syracuse, Villanova, Syracuse, St. John's,
Boston College, Pittsburgh.
And I'm willing to bet if you talk to someone who is a lifelong fan of any one of those schools, they would be able to rattle off their own 7 great rivalries that they had.
Right.
That was the beauty of that league back then. And I think whenever you talk to anyone who has any association with that time, they feel the exact same way.
Did you get any chance to talk to Dave Gavitt or Mike Tranghese or any of the people that were involved with the conference at that level?
Never. But that hasn't stopped me from saw Coach Boeheim on campus here one time, and I figured, well, I don't want to bother him, but I've got to say something. And I went over to him and I introduced myself, and he said, I know who you are. And that was, Chuck, you were kind to list career accolades, but that one might be at the top right there. Coach Boeheim knows who I am. But no, obviously with Seth Greenberg and anybody else who had any sort of association with that time, I'll bend their ear all day, but never with any of the Tranghese or the Dave Gavitts, never.
Yeah, Seth is the best. You know, he recruited me and when he was with Pitt. And so I knew him from then. He's been on the show. We share the same birthday. You know, he's a Villanova guy too, because his daughter played
Right.
volleyball there. So I've seen him around a lot. He's the best. And he's always back then he was on the road all the time. Anywhere I went to play, he showed up. It was I don't know how they do that. I mean, it was guys just get in a car and drive, and then and it's not just me. He was at everybody's game. You know, it was a wild time back then. It was great times. I got to ask you though, when we talked, because Sonny brought up the football and the whole thing when they left, and what do you think? I mean, you look at Pitt. Well, not so much Pittsburgh because they're not in the ACC with football, right? Or they are.
Oh yeah, they
They
are.
are.
They
Oh,
are.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Pitt, Boston College,
Yeah,
and
those are the ones.
Syracuse. Okay.
Pitt, Boston College, and Syracuse
They
deserve.
they kind of took a hit to their athletic program. I mean, those schools when they went to the ACC, don't you think?
Competitively, but not financially.
Right.
And
That's the bottom line, right there.
that is the bottom line. And yeah, I don't know how much you want to have this conversation. I think eventually we're headed for two conferences in football. It just seems to me like it's going that way.
Looks like
Uh,
it, right?
but and then how does that impact? Yeah, here's all you need to know. I get to go out, have for the past couple seasons to go out to Kansas City every March and be there for the Big 12 tournament. And you got Kansas, that if we were to allow the SEC and Big Ten right now to pick the schools, if they would want to add any of the schools from those conferences, no one would pick Kansas. Kansas basketball? I mean, are you kidding me? Duke
Yeah.
basketball, North Carolina basketball, football. It is its own animal, and I love college football, but to the point that you're making, Chuck, it has, from a competitive standpoint, it has absolutely hurt schools like Syracuse and Boston College and Pitt. There's no question about it.
Yeah, because all the games are played down south, and they're in the northeast corridor. You know, it's tough, especially when you have a kid that your families want to travel to see their kids play and stuff like that. It's difficult, you know. So I think a lot of the better players didn't even bother going there once they moved because mom and dad wanted to go see them play. I mean, you look at it and you say, I understand why they did it. Everybody gets it. Football rules the roost when it comes to money. But man, I guess that's what matters most. It doesn't matter, the other stuff as much.
Well,
Okay.
think about
Saying that the
this.
teams are bad either. I mean, it just seems like they lost their edge, a little bit in competitiveness.
Yeah.
Think about this. Marvin Harrison, one of the great players in Syracuse football history, has an elite athlete for a son, and you can't tell me that there's a world where Marvin Harrison Jr. considered going to Syracuse at that time. There's just no way. Whereas Carmelo Anthony's son is going to Syracuse. It's a little bit different in basketball, but anyway, we're all lamenting the same thing, I think.
So you talked about before we came on, you were talking about now you're doing the college basketball thing and getting ready for the upcoming season. In the Big East, we got the big two. And if you want to count Creighton, you got the big three. You got St. John's, UConn, and Creighton. So St. John's on paper probably has one of the best rosters in the country. How do you think the Johnnies are going to do this year? Once it all, it's hard, and I know I'm asking a loaded question, Kev, because it's hard to predict any of those things. I don't know how Fanta does it, and John's a friend of the show. He's been on a bunch of times. I don't know how he does it because how can you judge what you don't even know if they're going to mesh or anything? You don't even see him play a scrimmage game yet.
I mean, look at what Florida did last year, and tell me that we knew in November that Florida was going to win a national championship. I mean,
Oh God, no.
No.
listen,
It came out of nowhere.
Broke my
I'm
bracket in 1 second. It was over. It was over. That was it.
I,
But
I'm I'm this far into my prep for college basketball. So to tell you I have any real handle on anything right now, but I would extrapolate that further and to say to tell you that any of the experts have any handle on anything right now. Yeah, will Florida and St. John's and Purdue and Duke be good? Yeah, but that doesn't take Nostradamus to tell you that.
Right. And UConn too. UConn's going to be back again.
Yes.
Danny's a madman when it comes to that stuff. Sonny and I spoke to him at Big East Media Day. He's great. We know him from going to camps when he was younger than us, but we know him from going to camps and stuff like that. You get to know everybody as you know.
Yeah.
But he said to Rothstein, he said, "Hey, listen, it's championship or bust." And I'm like, you got 2 championships. It's not like you're the Yankees. You won 27 times. You won 2. So like every other season is a bust. I didn't get where he was going with that, but that's his mentality, and he keeps rebuilding. They just bought a guy over from Villanova. Mike Nardi is an assistant coach there.
Yes. Yeah.
So they backfilled. The other guy went to be the general manager, I think. I can't. His name escapes me. He was on too. I think Mullen or Muller, but Mike's over there now, and they got to keep the big kid came back. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. It's always fun, especially if you notice too. Everybody is putting on teams early in the year, with the exception of 1 or 2 or 3 teams, but they're all like NEC level, Patriot League level, just to get their feet wet to see what it was about. The years of playing the top 10, top 15, top 20 teams seems to be going by the wayside because nobody wants to come out 0-5 or something to start their season, right?
Yeah, or it's these NIL tournaments now. I mean, I took a look at I think it's the Maui Invitational for next year. That used to be
elite.
elite, and that too is yeah, look, I guess things evolve. Maybe that's the way to look at it, guys, is that things evolve, and maybe now this NIL tournament in Vegas is going to be the marquee early season event. It's funny. I always look at, and this is a different conversation. I always wonder if college basketball is doing it wrong by scheduling so many of these great out of conference games early in the season where they do get lost in the football season, college football
Yeah.
and the NFL season. Might college basketball be better pushing everything back a month, or playing conference games early, which no coach is going to sign up for,
Right.
but giving us some of these marquee games in December where there are fewer college football games and we get to see some of these elite non-conference matchups?
I
I
got to
think
ask you a
that's great
question
idea.
because it just hit me. The NIL, Vegas. Now, what's Vegas famous for? Gambling,
Yeah.
right? And gambling is their fingers are through everything now. They have every stadium has a FanDuel or a DraftKings deck, and Bet MGM, the commercials, the advertisement, the revenue that's generated brings a lot of things into question. What is your take on what that landscape looks like right now with gambling and supposedly amateur college athletics? Are we clear or are we fuzzy now?
I think we're as fuzzy as ever. Sonny,
Mhm.
maybe this has always been the case, and we shouldn't be surprised now that sports gambling is legal in a lot of places. I think we've seen the tip of the iceberg with some of these cases where we're finding out games were, maybe it's not even the outcome of games, but there has been some illegal activity with players fudging things, whether it's missing the game winning shot to alter the outcome of the game, or whether it's turning the ball over and losing one extra possession in a meaningless category that no one would ever be paying attention to. I How deep that goes is anybody's guess. How can I sit here and say it's not happening? I mean, the odds are infinitesimal to think it's not happening. It's got to be happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I listen, here's what I'll tell you. It is my job to read gambling advertisements on air. I don't feel I'm uneasy when I have to read these things.
Mhm.
Would I be telling you a lie if I told you I never placed a bet in my DraftKings account? Yeah, I'd be telling you a lie. Do I, you know, is it on any, I never allow it to be on any level. But the point is this: I've got two phones. I walk around with two casinos in my pocket 24 hours a day. It's at some point something is going to be big. But I also know it's here to stay. And boy, oh boy, is it here to stay.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, you know, it's amazing. You watch some in football in particular, right? In the NFL, you know, every time your team loses, you know, oh, this happened or that happened. The refs did this, the refs did that. I mean, it's amazing. That you never heard that kind of talk before until, you know, you had the DraftKings and all these other places. You know,
Yep.
no one never thought twice about an official, you know, not making a call, or, you know, it's unbelievable to think that that could happen, but I guess it does, right?
Well, I remember UNLV, right? You couldn't have certain things in Las Vegas because gambling was legal and they couldn't host or have things there. Or UNLV couldn't play near the strip when they were playing. I mean, there were certain separations, but now forget it. I think it's not going to be long till we see BetMGM has NIL money with this kid or that kid, you know?
I mean, you know, this is not advocating either way, but Pete Rose isn't in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I defy you to watch a baseball broadcast now and not find a sports gambling advertisement.
Oh, forget it.
That blows my mind, right? I mean, you think about that. I mean, I understand, you know, the rules and all that other kind of stuff, but that's a whole nother subject, Kev. I mean, that thing. And now they made him eligible after he passed away. I mean, it was, you know,
Yeah.
so we'll see what
You knew
happens.
that was going to happen.
You know, it's interesting with these Hall of Fames, you know, and I've gotten some experience with the Basketball Hall of Fame because we've been seeing when Coach Massimino will get into the Hall of Fame. And it's been, you never know. In the Basketball Hall of Fame, they have like 24 people that vote. You don't know who they are, and you don't know what they said. So in other words, for a guy like Mike Piazza, say, and I use him only because it took him 3 or 4 times before he finally got in. And you can see the percentage that he had to get
progression.
the percent. You see the progression of, okay, now he finally made it. When they call you, you know, there's too much to, you know, doubt in people's heads to say, okay, maybe he got there and somebody didn't want him in there and took him out, you know, kind of thing, because no one knows, and they change 2 or 3 or 4 of the voters every year, so it's constantly mixed up. But it's like a top secret thing. You don't know, okay, you're in, you're not in, but, you know, I would rather it be open. At least, listen, the baseball writers, you know, they have their own way of kind of directing who goes in and who doesn't go in. You know, Eddie Murray played for first base for the Orioles. He didn't give a good interview, so we made him wait, you know, to which I don't like that, because if he could play, he could play. You know, what made Walker on the 10th time be a Hall of Famer, but the first 9 not a Hall of Famer? So stuff like that. I just wish they would find some kind of universal way to do it where it's a fair thing and you know exactly where you stand.
I couldn't agree more. I think not voting for someone because they weren't they were or weren't a nice guy. And there are instances where nice guys have gotten preferential treatment and not
Yeah.
nice guys have had to pay the price. I also know that people have asked me about the suspected steroid guys and whether or not they're going to get in. And I've had conversations with people who would know. And now that it's this players committee of people who will determine, after your eligibility, if we're bringing people back, and there's a very strong sentiment that a lot of these guys will not get in, despite despite us thinking that they might. So the Hall of Fame is, and there are players today, players who've recently gotten in that I thought, really, is that guy a baseball Hall of Famer? But I don't have a vote. I don't have a dog. I don't have a vote. So like everybody else,
and the one guy, I know you're a Yankee fan. We spoke briefly before the show. You got to get one jerk not vote for Jeter, and it was the Boston guy of all. Come on, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
How about Ricky Henderson? Ricky, you trying to tell me Ricky Henderson was not a unanimous selection? Are you kidding me? What did he didn't do? What did he not do in the course of his career? What was he not great at? But yeah, that's where individual egos take over. But I guess at the end of the day, they don't say a Hall of Famer, but he didn't get 3 votes. They call him a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know what they did when they talked to Ricky Henderson? You know what he said?
Yeah, I know what
Ricky Henderson belongs in.
Yeah, sure.
He used to always talk about himself in third person.
What a player.
Sonny, did I ever tell you that story? He's playing for the Newark Bears, all right? And it was that, I forget the name of the league, but the Long Island Ducks are in that league.
Yeah.
So I'm with my kids at the Long Island Ducks game, and I go, that's Ricky Henderson. And my son goes over, and it was freezing that day. It was a cold day. And he said to Ricky, hey, can you sign my ball? He goes, Ricky doesn't sign in the cold weather. He goes, okay, well, I won't ask Ricky. I'm asking you, can you sign my ball? And he's like, Ricky won't. So I had to explain to the kid. He goes, what's he talking about? He's Ricky. What's he talking about? I said, he doesn't want to sign for you because it's too cold. Ricky thinks it's too cold. So
but talk about just a pure thoroughbred of an athlete. He was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best, obviously, So, okay. So now and we're getting close to the end of this, Kev. I just want, let's wrap it up with this. What marquee matchups in the Big East are you looking forward to check out this year?
I mean, how can it not be St. John's, UConn? Given the success that the programs have had, the success the coaches have had, the relationship the coaches have, which, by the way, is a healthy thing. I think, what college basketball thrives off of, to bring this full circle, are the rivalries and the things that fans can identify with. Boy, I remember how much Boeheim and John Thompson had this relationship. I remember how much the fan throwing the orange at the backboard during the Georgetown game, or the incredible moments. So, so long as it's all done in bounds, I think the relationship that Danny and Rick have is healthy for the sport. I think it's necessary to bring viewers into the sport. I think there's so much going on in society now, football being the monster that it is. Everyone's got one of these that they're looking at all day long.
Right.
If you can have these identifiable rivalries for fans, I think it's great. So there will be plenty of matchups that I'm excited to see, but how can it be anything other than St. John's and UConn?
Is there going to be a big enough coaches box on the sideline? Because I think Danny's on the other side of half court, and Rick's going to be there. The only thing better was Shaka. Shaka and Danny, I think, both ran 3 miles during the game.
That was that
incredible sideline.
Kind of like the old school Massimino versus Carnesecca. They were all over the place too, Sonny.
Sure.
But I have to say, I'm looking forward to the season. Do you think St. John's, gets to a Final Four again, the first time since '85? Do you think Rick can get him over the hump? because I think it would be great for the conference myself if the New York team gets there. Not, and I have a rivalry with my daughter. She went to grad school there, so we go at each other all the time, the Wildcats and the Johnnies. But so I mean, I think it'd be good for the conference. What do you think?
It'd be amazing. I think people, obviously the Knicks have been better in recent years here, but as someone who grew up a New York basketball fan, I think nationally it's been forgotten what an unbelievable basketball town New York is. Forget the players that it produced back in the era that both of you played in,
Yeah,
but the history that there has been with the Knicks, obviously, and then with teams like St. John's. And what an unbelievable accomplishment it would be if Rick Pitino could lead another school to the Final Four. I'll give you this quickly. I had the opportunity last season to interview Rick with Richard on a Zoom interview that we did on SportsCenter, and I got to see a very, very different side of Rick Pitino, where it was one of the more memorable interviews that I've ever gotten to do, where you could see how proud he was of his son and the success that Richard was having last season. It was a very memorable exchange for someone who, my God, Rick Pitino has been someone that's been a notable coach in my life, dating back to bring it back to Rockville Center when Billy Donovan
yeah, with
was
Billy.
a
Yeah,
player at Providence. So what an unbelievable accomplishment it would be. Who's to tell if, can it happen? Of course. Will it happen? I mean, a season is a monster, as we talked about before we came on, and these seasons are all so long, and so many things can happen. But they're preseason top 10, so I guess their chances are pretty good.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Well, hey, Kev, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Our
Thanks, man.
guest today has been Kevin Connors from ESPN. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your season and your holidays and stuff. And it was always good to see you, pal.
Chuck, Sonny, you too, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm glad we could make it work.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
thanks, pal.
Appreciate you too.
You've been watching and listening to the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Sparrow. Our production team is Nick Chico Corus, Daryl Gurney, James Happ, and Jack Wynn. Those are the guys that make it all happen behind the scenes. And check us out on the SiriusXM app, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with a friend. Thanks a lot for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.